You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Hello, and welcome to Lake County Sports Scoop. I'm your host, Carson Beck, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carmel Corsairs Varsity Assistant Boys Basketball Coach, Fidel Garcia, and you're listening to 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. Coach, welcome back.
I feel like it was just yesterday I was here.
I feel the same way, and today is Monday, December 16th, 2019. And today's show, we'll be joined by Round Lake Boys basketball coach, Coach Iden, as he joins us live in studio in the bottom half portion of our show. And just in a matter of minutes, we'll be joined on the phone by Lake Forest Scouts girls basketball coach, Coach Wilhelm. On today's episode of Lake County Sports Scoop, we're going to recap last week's action of high school basketball as well as preview this week's action of high school basketball. And later when we talk Mundelein, I got a nice interview with Mundelein boys basketball Mundelein basketball legend, sorry about that, Ben Brust, as he was in town for his induction ceremony into the Mundelein Hall of Fame. You may know him from his time with the Badgers at Wisconsin. But we'll dive into that when we talk Mundelein. But let's start in the North Suburban Conference, where we'll talk Stevenson Patriots. Stevenson is currently 7-1, and they suffered their first loss of the season this past weekend. This past week, Stevenson won 2-1. They beat Libertyville last Tuesday, 70-44. This was an interesting game that they played because some players that don't get as much attention for Stevenson got some scoring action, as Kaznikov with 18 points, Holmes with 14 points and 5 rebounds, and Evan Ambrose with 11 points. For Libertyville in this game, Chase Bonder came off the bench, adding in 15 points for the Wildcats of Libertyville. Stevenson then defeated Zion Benton 57-44 on Friday. And then Stevenson, however, suffered its first loss on Saturday at Mount Carmel, where they lost to Oak Park River Forest 55-48. The offense was struggling, as Coach Ambrose mentioned with the Daily Herald, that it was the second quarter slump and also the finish to the third quarter that cost the Patriots their first loss of the season. Matt Ambrose, the star player, son of head coach Ambrose, had 16 points in the losing effort. His brother Evan had 8 points. John Idonas had 14 points. And Stevenson will take on the Lake Zurich Bears on Tuesday and will host Yorkville Christian, who is 7-1 on Friday. Coach Garcia, with Stevenson suffering its first loss of the year, but as well as I mentioned, 2 wins on the tally mark. What do you take from this Stevenson basketball team?
Yeah, still number one. So yeah, you're right for bringing them up first. But the one thing that sticks out for me is they're 7-1, and it's been a strong 7-1 schedule that they've played, and they've done pretty well. So I think that Oak Park game, there probably was a little bit of legs. You know, they played the night before against Zion, and then to have to go up against a real athletic and talented Oak Park team that next day might have done them in a little bit. And I'm sure they're not making any excuses either, but they'll be fine. They do have a nice little stretch coming up where you're probably going to see them win all these games coming into their Xmas tournament, the Christmas tournament.
All right. Sounds like a plan, and we look forward to seeing Stevenson, you can catch them later on in the year on January 10th when they host Mundelein, the next team we'll talk about. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's advertise this week's WRLR Game of the Week. On this Saturday, Lake Forest Scouts hit the road to take on the Warren Blue Devils at 7 p.m. You can catch Rusty Silver and Don Johnson on the call, live from Warren High School as they look to take on the Scouts. The next team we'll look at is the Mundelein Mustangs. Mundelein is currently undefeated, and not only in the North Suburban, but in all of Lake County. Mundelein is 8-0 as they thumped Lake Forest on Tuesday, 58-24. In last Tuesday's game versus Scouts, Trey Baker had 18 points for the Mustangs. Scotty Abube and Jack Bikis both had 12 points each. And then on Friday, a game that I was in attendance at, Mundelein beat Waukegan 69-42. Jack Bikis had 17 points, 7 steals, and 7 rebounds. Trey Baker had 15 points. And on Friday night as well, Mundelein inducted Mundelein living legend as well as Wisconsin Badger legend Ben Brust into the Mundelein Hall of Fame. I caught up with Brust after his ESPN Wisconsin radio show live from Mundelein High School. And let's take a listen on what Ben Brust had to say. All right, we got Ben Brust. Ben, first question I want to ask you is, what's your favorite Mundelein memory that you had during your time at Mundelein?
To be honest, this is going to sound weird, but it's when I first joined in the summer of 2008. So Navjot Singh and Andy Rashan were the older guys, and I had the opportunity to get to play with them when I didn't know anybody. I was a freshman becoming a sophomore, moving to a new city, and they really brought me in, and we had an awesome team that year, and it was just fun going around Indiana team camp and all these different places we played in the summer, and we crushed it. We were beating everyone, crushing everyone. People would laugh at us. Our team didn't look that great. And then in a 20-minute, 2 halves of running clocks, we put up 100 points a couple times. So I had a great time getting to know them. And personally, to be able to score 50 points in a couple high school games was pretty cool, but I think we lost both, so I don't know what that says about me.
That's a similar question to what Coach Garcia's trivia question he wants to ask. Coach Garcia wants to know, in the championship game when you guys were in Bloomington, he wants to know if you remember which team you guys played and lost to.
Which team we played and lost to? I feel like I can picture it, but I can't give the answer. I know, so on the main court in Bloomington, I want to say it was I can't get it.
It was New York City, he says.
City. Okay. I was gonna say Minnesota, so I was wrong on the state already.
Ben, can you describe what Mundelein has done for you, and also how Coach Knar and also assistant Coach Knigge has helped shape your basketball career?
Yeah, they were awesome in terms of putting me in a place where I could develop as a player, and I wasn't always good at playing at fast tempo until I came here, and they really showed me when you play fast and get in rhythm, you can score at a high clip. So they really developed my game in terms of what I was able to do offensively. So it definitely carried over into the rest of my career, and I'm very happy for that.
Ben, going to your college career, obviously you had a fantastic career at Wisconsin with the Final Four run, but describe your favorite personal memory as being a Badger.
Definitely when we won against Arizona in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. If you lose that game, my career's over, and then you're just another team that went to the Elite Eight. But to go to the Final Four is usually kind of made it. People remember it, and people do still to this day. And that team was awesome to be part of, so I really loved that memory specifically.
Can you describe how Coach Bo Ryan has helped shape your career when you were at Wisconsin?
Coach was great, and I came in as a player who stunk on defense, and he didn't let me play as a freshman because I did stink on defense. So he ultimately helped me create my better all-around game, and once I was good enough to make it on the floor and earn his trust, the rest was history.
Last question. We know that you work for Big Ten Network as well as having your ESPN radio show. Can you talk about the transition from player to journalist and how your journalism career has helped shape you?
It's been fun because I didn't really know what I wanted to do after basketball, but I did know that I built a lot of great connections with good people around the Madison area of Wisconsin as well as the Chicagoland area. So I used those relationships to get in some good positions, and now it's fun just traveling around playing basketball or watching basketball and talking on the radio and trying to entertain sports fans. So I love it, and I can't wait to continue and figure out what's next.
Thanks, Ben Brust, for your time, and good luck for the rest of your future.
Thanks for having me.
That was Ben Brust. We caught up with him after his radio show. We thank Ben Brust for his time, taking time out of his busy schedule. I know he had a lot on his plate for big ceremony on Friday, but very, very important living legend in Mundelein history.
Well, yeah, and when he said he was, or when we say he was a good scorer, he literally was. And he's hands down the best I've ever seen at the high school level move without the basketball. I mean, he was relentless, and a lot of that had to do with Coach Knigge's teaching of the motion, but a lot of it was also Ben was just such a great athlete, played with such intensity, and he was smart. I mean, he knew how to set you up, and he's a pure scorer. So, and that's something even Bo Ryan right away picked up on. As he said, Benny didn't play defense early. He eventually would, but here's this guy on the scout team just killing the main guys. Keep scoring on him, and sooner or later it's like, all right, we got to play this guy. And so, it was great seeing Benny, and we wish him the best. He's probably gonna be big time.
Absolutely, and he does a fantastic job on ESPN Radio. And as I mentioned, Big Ten Network, you can always catch him on either of those. And I believe his show is right now, but don't touch that dial. Keep tuning in right here. But as we continue talking Mundelein, I will be at their game at Zion Benton tonight, taking on the ZBs. And then Mundelein will host a pretty tough team in Lake Park on Saturday who is 8-0. You can catch that right at Mundelein. But, Coach, it's 4:10. Should we give Coach Wilhelm a call?
Yeah, let's call him. Actually, I told him 4:15.
Are we a little early or
a little bit early? But just to touch up on Mundelein, if you want to jump in Mundelein real quick, is they've had a 4-game stretch now where they've played against teams that been struggling, but they've also beaten them pretty well. And so now here comes a stretch for them. I think that's going to be key because they're moving forward into a really, really, really competitive tournament, which I kind of wanted to talk about also because Mundelein is going to play 2 games this week that are really going to test them. And when they go down and play at Collinsville, I mean, we're talking maybe the second, third. I mean, do you know how big time that tournament's going to be?
Not really. I'm more used to the tournament that they used to be in.
Well, they're in another one, and this one's with a team that's probably the consensus number 1 in the state, Collinsville. They're on the other side of the bracket, but let me see. I got it written down here. They're going to play a team, O'Fallon, who's also a top 10 team in the state. They're going to probably have to play them in the second round, and then in the Final Four, in order to get to the championship, they'll have to play Lincoln, who's a top 5 3A school, and then to win the championship. Just from what I'm looking at, it's going to be Collinsville, who I said is the number 1 probably in the state right now. So this is great for Mundelein. I think these next 2 games are the most important thing, obviously, but you're really going to get a chance to see Mundelein go up against the best in the state, and it's we're going to learn a lot about them. But I think they're going to impress.
And definitely a challenge for them to see what exactly Mundelein's made of. We all know the progression they've had in the last 2 years, but is it time for Coach Wilhelm, or should we squeeze into Libertyville?
No, I told him 4:15-ish, so this is perfect.
All right, so let's give Coach Wilhelm, the head coach of Lake Forest girls, on the line.
Hello?
Hello, Coach Wilhelm. Welcome to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, and we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk some Scouts girls basketball. I believe Coach Garcia wants to ask the first question.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on. There's been a lot of talk about your main guard, Douglas, but just from what we've been able to learn from the news and just talking to people that cover you guys, it's a lot more than just Douglas. There's more players contributing. Can you talk about those players?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, everyone we play knows about Hallie. She's been around for a while, but it probably starts with our 4 juniors. They've been playing together for a really long time, and they've been on varsity now. Some of them for 3 years, 2 of them for the last 2 years, and so they bring a little experience, but they're all kind of stepping up into new roles. So. Finola Somerville's been doing a really good job offensively, defensively, an inside-outside threat for us. Molly Fisher's been doing a great job on the perimeter, knocking down some big threes, playing good defense. And you got Lily Turkler probably runs the floor better than anyone in the area, and does a great job hustling, getting rebounds. And Olivia Whitty does a little bit of, mostly perimeter, but get some rebounds, post up. So you got some 4 juniors who aren't really new to varsity basketball, aren't new to this, that are doing a great job contributing. And then we have 2 freshmen that have really stepped up and are just getting better every day. So, it's hard to win with one player at any level. But Hallie does a great job of getting them involved. And as they continue to grow, we're going to be a tough team.
All right, Coach, my question for you is, I noticed that last week you guys played Mundelein. You guys only held them to 10 total points throughout the entire game. I kind of want your take on what type of defensive schemes you guys run to kind of hold teams in check, and to what do you guys do in particular to focus on that?
We obviously, like a lot of teams, we do, we talk about the opposing team, and Mundelein's got a really great guard in Morgan Frank, and can really score. And, Finola did a phenomenal job of pace guarding her in particular that game. And then the team did a great job of rotating and trying to get the ball out of her hands. And so they run a lot of stuff through her. And, one of the things we try to do defensively is obviously identify a team's strength, and we put our we run a little bit of an amoeba type defense, and we try to put our players in the best possible position to guard people out, whether they're strong perimeter defenders or post defenders, and try to take teams out of what they're comfortable doing. And we did obviously a great job executing against Mundelein.
Coach, coming off a historic season, what can you tell us about your team goals, maybe, or even where you're setting the bar for this year, and maybe even tell us how do you go about doing that?
That's the goals are always a really tough question, because I'd be lying, and I think most coaches would be lying if they didn't say their goal every year was to win a state championship. I don't know who doesn't have that as the ultimate goal. But I think there's a lot of things along the way that you set smaller goals along the season, and then last year in particular when we went on our postseason run. I mean, it starts first and foremost. I think you want to be playing your best basketball come February, and so you do things along the season, getting prepared for conference games, winning tournaments, whatever that case may be. But you want to come February playing your best basketball. And I think there was no doubt when the playoffs came, we felt really good about where we were at. So then you set goals of winning a regional and then winning a sectional. And I have no problems changing my goal and adding another one. And, now that you get that taste of being close to downstate, I mean, who doesn't want to play in that environment? And, that's a long ways away. And so hopefully this year, after getting a taste of that, we go about it every day trying to play our best basketball come February, and hopefully we put ourselves in a position that come February we can be in that conversation, be one of those teams.
All right, Coach. My last question to you is, how is your coaching style and scheme worked when transitioning from coaching boys basketball to coaching girls basketball?
Oh gosh, I mean, I guess the first thing I had to get used to was all the pre-rep in the hair and worrying about all the pools. That no joke, my first game I had a ref warn me that I was going to get like 5 technicals because they had all different color pre-wrap and things in their hair, and coaching boys, I'd never actually had that even be a concern.
Kyle, if I told you I got a guy that it is a concern, would you believe me?
It wasn't a concern at first when I was coaching boys, but that became an immediate concern.
I got you, I know.
It happened more, it was more prevalent. And I think one of the big things that I've noticed, every year I feel like I get a better grasp of coaching in general. I feel like I get, I'm getting a little bit better, a little bit more knowledgeable, whatnot. I just keep getting reminded that every year is a brand new group of kids, a brand new group of girls. And, the biggest challenge that I have, I think, is with boys and girls, but probably more so with girls, is the camaraderie, the relationships that they make with each other is so much more important and impactful for them. And when you get a team that's really playing together for each other, it's harder to do with girls, but when you get them there and you get a team that just enjoys being around each other, it's so much more rewarding, and they just love being around each other. And that's probably the more challenging thing to create, but a much more rewarding thing when you can get it.
All right, Coach. We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule, and we know you got a big season up ahead. And good luck.
Thanks, Kyle.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Good luck.
Thanks.
That was Coach Wilhelm of Lake Forest Scouts girls basketball.
Can I just mention also that remember I told you the Vernon Hills coach was pretty good. Kyle's the guy that when he shows up to these men league games, if you don't guard him, he's going to drop like 50 on you. I mean, I'm serious. Like, he's at that point. I don't know. He always says he wishes he would have shot more in high school. He should have played for Dick. He might have been able to average 30.
Do you think more than Brust?
No, but I mean, I think if he had this type of mentality that he in high school, if he could shoot the same, I don't see why he couldn't. He played Division III basketball, so he's a good player. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, he's dropping like 50 if you don't guard him, which is crazy because he can really shoot it. So.
All right, a great interview as well. We thank Coach Wilhelm for coming on, and good luck for the rest of the season for him. But let's continue North Suburban boys basketball as we dive into the Libertyville Wildcats. Libertyville is 6-2 and is coming off a week in which they split their games. Libertyville lost on Tuesday, as we mentioned earlier, to Stevenson, 70-44. Libertyville then beat Warren, 62-57. This was a close game throughout, as Libertyville was only up 2 at halftime, 28-26. Jackson Watson scored 15 points for the Wildcats in the winning effort on Friday. Libertyville doesn't have any scheduled games for this week, but Coach, you played against them, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. What do you take so far? I know we had Will Moore on the show, and you saw the quarterback for the football team now playing basketball, Blake Ellingson, play. So what do you take overall from this group in general for the Wildcats?
Well, they're 6-2. They're playing well. I know they probably wish they could have been 100% against Stevenson, but I mean, if you just look at the body of work in terms of what they've done so far, it's impressive. They've played Evanston tough. They've beaten some pretty good teams handedly, and I'm not jumping to conclusions on the Stevenson loss. Stevenson's a really good team, so this Libertyville team is still good. I got them at my third ranking, third slot, and this is a team that's probably thinking regional, maybe 20 wins.
I definitely agree with you on that. And should we do the power rankings when we come back from break, or do you want to do them now?
We've done 3 of them, right? So How about this? I'll give you my fourth, and I want to save my number 5
For when
and
Coach Iden comes.
when Coach Iden comes, and also that's a great idea, and also, we hopefully you stick to what you said you were going to do, right, with your rankings, and I think it's important that we leave the 5th one for the next conference. But my 4th is Zion, and I'll let you know my 5th later.
I'll say Mundelein 1, Stevenson 2.
Oh, don't get carried away. Okay, go ahead. That's good.
Record speak.
That's my same ranking. It's
then,
Stevenson, Mundelein. Go ahead.
And then
Who's your third?
Libertyville 3, and then
Okay, and then the 4th is debatable, right? That's where we're debating about a little bit.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into that 4th and 5th spot, and then maybe we'll ask Coach Iden too if he wants to
Weigh in.
Weigh in, yeah. I'm sure he's got an idea too.
All right, the next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference is the Zion Benton ZBs. Zion is 4-3, and they're coming off a week in which they also split their games last week. Last Tuesday, Zion beat Lake Zurich 48-41. Zion then lost at Stevenson on Friday 57-44. In Friday's loss at Stevenson, Zion's Amar Aguilar scored 10 points. DeMonte Taylor also scored 10, and Floyd Bailey also scored 10 points for the ZBs. Zion's only game this week will be tonight. As I mentioned, I'll be in attendance, and also Rusty Silber will be in attendance, but he will not be calling the game as they host undefeated Mundelein Mustangs. So, Coach Garcia, what do you take from the Zion Benton ZB squad? We know that they can definitely speed it up and down the court. They played a tough team in Stevenson, but they definitely beat a team in Lake Zurich pretty well last Tuesday. So, what's your take overall from this Zion team?
Well, I'm sure they'll be the first to admit that they've struggled a little bit over the last few weeks, not playing exactly the way that they want. But this is still a very talented team that, if they're able to settle in and get things going, which I think they will, this is a team that could have a good showing this year. I think they're a team that can win a regional. I think they're a team that can potentially have the potential to win 20 games, and like I said, they've played a pretty solid schedule, and I'm sure there's going to be a couple games where they're going to be able to get some traction.
Do you see them playing spoiler? I know they already lost their first game with Stevenson, but do you think if maybe they get a win tonight?
Always, Zion's capable of beating anyone in the state. I mean, like on a given night, if they're playing well, it's at Zion or something like that. They have the talent this year to be very good, and I think right now it's still a work in progress, and it happens. I mean, it's a long season, so they've had some good showings, and the one thing I think I wanted to point out was they played a tough schedule, and that continues into the tournament, Christmas tournament. They're going to be at Proviso West, so they'll be able to showcase their abilities. The last time they were there, they lost in the championship or the Final Four. They lost to the Final Four to I want to say Whitney Young, and Morton High School ended up winning it that year. But that was the year where they had that 08. I think it was probably 09 or something like that. They had a really, really talented team, and I mean they're talking about guys that are in the pros right now.
I know when I was listening to John and Joe show on Thursday, Joe Aguilar and Rusty Silber and myself all agreed the matchup to watch tonight is Amar Aguilar versus Scotty Abube tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? They've played against each other and played with each other a long time, so they're not strangers to each other. But you can just say this: that game's going to be played above the rim. A lot of that night. So if you got an opportunity to go check out that game, I would do it.
We're going to see a slam dunk contest.
Yeah, NFL's over with. I mean, it's rough right now, especially as a Bears fan. So
and a Raiders fan.
I mean, it's Raiders. What?
Oh man,
this is Lake County now. What's going on? Anyways, yeah, you'll be entertained, and you don't got to go too far. I mean, Mundelein's pretty centrally located, right?
Yeah, definitely. And let's transition over to the next team in the North Suburban Conference, the Lake Zurich Bears. Lake Zurich is 3-4, coming off a week in which they also split their games last week. Lake Zurich lost at Zion Benton 48-41. Lake Zurich bounced back with a win against Lake Forest on Friday, 42-32. a game that Rusty Silver was in attendance. He also saw Kyle Wilhelm's Wake Forest girls play first in that game. But Noah DeLuga scored 13 points for the Bears, as well as Will Tucker, who scored 12 points for Lake Zurich in the win over Lake Forest. Lake Zurich's only game this week will be on Tuesday as they host Stevenson. So, Coach Garcia, what do you take from this Lake Zurich team that's already halfway towards their win total from last year? I know that it was just a matter of, I believe, 3 years ago that they made it to either a sectional final or super sectional.
3 years ago? No, it was
it was
the previous year. So 2 years ago, right? 2 seasons. Not last season, the season before they won a sectional. So not too long ago.
Yeah, you're right.
So, in Coach's first year, you saw him kind of laying down the groundwork. They had some big wins. They beat Mundelein that year. They beat a couple other teams. This year, they're improved, and I think they're going to win a lot more games than they won last year. And I'd be interested to see just kind of the next couple games. They're going to play against some pretty tough competition. They're down at Pekin, which is pretty solid too. So you're going to get to see what they're made of a little bit more, and I guess by then I'll be able to make a better assessment of how the season's going to go. But listen, they're well coached, and as I've always said, if they're going to defend you, if they have a good shooting night, they can beat you.
Definitely not a team that you can take lightly. They beat Mundelein last year. So next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference is the Warren Blue Devils. Warren is 3-5 and is coming off a week in which they also split their games. Warren won at Waukegan last Tuesday, 64-43. Jason Langevin scored 21 points for the Blue Devils in the win. Juan De La Cruz scored 16 points for Warren. And on Friday, Warren lost at Libertyville 62-57. Iden Saronic led the Blue Devils in scoring with 20 points, 16 of which come in the first half. Warren's only game this week will be on Friday as they host Lake Forest. Coach Garcia, what do you take of the Blue Devils so far? A little off to a slow start, but definitely hanging in there in their games.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit longer for them to settle in. They got, as I said, they got football guys coming back, and those guys are. Listen, we had guys play football too, so it takes a while for them to get settled. I think those guys are key contributors, and when they get settled, and the rest of the team kind of figures out their roles, I guess, you're going to start seeing what this Warren team is made out of. I think you still got to wait a little bit on them, but they're going to be good. They're going to be solid.
We'll definitely see them when they take on Lake Forest this Saturday. The next team we'll look at.
Oh, yeah, by the way, they play down at Pontiac, which is the best tournament this year, Christmas tournament. So they, right off the bat, they're going to go ahead and they're going to play Peoria Manual, who's a state team from last year, and I believe they brought a lot of guys back. So, right off the bat, Warren is another team that plays a really tough schedule, a non-conference. They don't back down on nobody, and they're gonna have some really, really interesting games against some really, really good teams.
The next team we'll look at in the North Suburban Conference is the Lake Forest Scouts. Lake Forest is 3-5, and they're coming off a week in which they went 0-2. Lake Forest lost at Mundelein on Tuesday, 58-24. Lake Forest lost to Lake Zurich on Friday, 42-32. In the loss, Jack Malloy led the Scouts in scoring with 10 points, 7 rebounds. And on Friday, Lake Forest will play at Warren, game that you can catch right here on WRLR. And Coach Garcia, what do you take from this Lake Forest Scouts team?
I haven't really been able to watch them too much, but I'm still really intrigued by the freshman that they have. I think he may be their best player. There probably won't you won't get anyone to say that on the staff, but he's got a lot of potential. He's going to be a kid that under La Scala is going to have a bright future. So I always like to see where they end up going. A lot of them go big time academic, and it's nice to see it's really refreshing to see a Lake County kid, out of Michigan or an Ivy League school.
Definitely, and I believe Coach Iden has just arrived. We're going to help him hook up to to a mic. But let's talk the next team in the North Suburban Conference, the Waukegan Bulldogs. Waukegan is 0-8, and they're coming off a week in which they went 0-2. Waukegan lost last Tuesday to Warren 64-43. Then they lost to Mundelein 69-42. A game in which they were winning early in the first quarter. Waukegan will host the Lakes on Tuesday, who is 3-4 from the Northern Lake County Conference, and Waukegan will then host North Chicago, who is 2-6, also from Northern Lake County. So, Coach Garcia, I know you got to play against them not too long ago. So, what do you take from Coach Ashlaw's Bulldogs?
They're going to battle you, and I think you saw that with Mundelein. We saw that at Carmel, and they're getting better. So, it's a young team. I think they're playing a lot of freshmen and lower level guys, but this could be a year where Coach Ashlaw, it's his best coaching year of his career, and you may not notice it. It'd be on the record in terms, people may not recognize it, and I guarantee Coach Ashlaw wouldn't care about that. He's going to give his best effort. So this is going to be a really well coached team. They're going to get better as the year goes on, and just, it's Waukegan, so you got to be ready to go.
Let's squeeze in these next two a little quick before we head to break. Next team we'll look at is in the Central Suburban League North, in the Vernon Hills Cougars. Vernon Hills is 5-4 and is coming off a week in which they went 1-2. Vernon Hills lost at Lakes on Tuesday, 47-42. In the losing effort, Eric Rimas scored 15 points for the Cougars. They then lost at Grays Lake Central, 52-48 in overtime. And then they beat Maine East 60-53. Rimas had a career high of 29 points, 23 of them coming in the first half. Vernon Hills at one point was up 21 going into the fourth quarter, 50-34. Vernon Hills will host Rochelle Zell from the Chicago Prep Conference, who is 7-2. Then Vernon Hills will play at conference rival Niles North on Friday, who is 8-1. So, Coach Garcia, we had Coach McCarty on not too long ago, but what do you take from the Cougars that maybe have a little bit of the injury bug, but still scrapping?
Yeah, they're 5-4, as you said. They're having a turnaround year. I mean, they've been a little bit down the last couple of years, and this isn't a team that is a stranger to being a successful program. So I'm excited to see how they play in a real tough conference that they're in, but it'll be interesting to see how they fare with a couple of those teams.
The last team we'll look at is Coach Garcia's Carmel Corsairs from the East Suburban Catholic League. Carmel is 4-5 and is coming off a week in which they split their games last week. Carmel won at Bradley Tech from Wisconsin 65-52. In Milwaukee, Bryce Morris scored 15 points for the Corsairs, and Kobe, how do you pronounce it, Brame or Brame? Brame scored 13 points. Carmel then lost at conference rival St. Patrick 47-33, in which both Moore and Jalen Burton scored 7 points for the Corsairs. St. Patrick improved to 6-1. Carmel's only game this week will be Saturday at St. Patrick as they host Providence St. Mel, who is 0-8. So, Coach, what do you take from your Corsairs before we head to break?
Well, we're working on getting better. We're obviously not happy with where we're at, but we're also not too far off of what we thought things could be like. So we're confident we're going to continue to get better. But the good thing that I really like is we've really been able to play so many guys, and so many guys have really gotten some really good experience. We feel like that's going to pay dividends down the line a little bit, because as a coaching staff, we trust a couple more guys. So once we get, we're looking to get healthy and looking to get everyone back into the fold. We're hoping things can change for us, but we're still working hard, and the kids are still in it, and they're just they're getting through finals, and a lot of times I can play some tricks with you, but we're excited about going down to Centralia in a couple of weeks, and that's kind of where our focus is right now, is finishing.
All right, when we come back from break, we'll talk Round Lake Panthers boys basketball as coaches in studio, as well as we preview and recap all of Northern Lake County Conference. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County.
Cornicchione's New York-style pizzeria in Antioch at routes 83 and 173 is another proud sponsor of WRLR Sports. Cornicchione's pizza dough is made from scratch using a family recipe that originated in Brooklyn, New York. Their dough is proofed at least 24 hours. Cornicchione's menu includes pizzas, calzones, pasta, much more. They have dine-in, carry-out, and delivery. Their number is 224-308-1499.
When I'm under, I'm weightless, floating away, and all I think about is doing it again.
Michael Swan is under the influence of his volunteer swim coach. Spending a little time coaching, he helps Michael stay off drugs. Be a coach, a mentor, a volunteer. No matter what it is, you have something to offer. Log on to helpyourcommunity.org or call 877-KIDS-313 and be an influence on the kids in your community. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Today's sports broadcast is made possible by O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC, proud to sponsor another season of Lake County High School sports broadcasts on WRLR 98.3 FM, helping home buyers, sellers, and others with real estate transactions. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC can be reached at 847-675-4790.
Hi, I'm Frank Tarzeski, inviting you to listen to Music Matters every Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 on your FM dial. I play polkas, I play country, I play crazy songs, I play requests and jazz. That's Music Matters 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3.
Having trouble moving the ball to finish your divorce or paternity matter? Child support or maintenance payments causing trouble with your salary cap? Sue Kamen is an experienced family law attorney who can coach you through mediation or fire a pass into the end zone at trial. To make an appointment in Antioch, Huntley, or Lake Zurich with Susan E. Kamen and Associates, their number is 847-847-7354.
Hi, I'm Carson Beck. Do you like your weekly dose of Lake County sports? I have a show for you. Tune in to Lake County Sports Scoop right here on 98.3 WRLR on Mondays from 4 to 5 p.m., where me and my co-host, Carmel Corsairs assistant boys basketball coach, Fidel Garcia, recap and preview all things Lake County sports.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
And we're back. You're listening to Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, and we're joined by Coach Iden of Round Lake Panthers boys basketball. Welcome to the show.
Hey, fellas. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
All right, let's dive in, and let's talk about Round Lake right away. As they're coming off a 2-0 week, as Round Lake defeated Grant 61-41, and then they won at Woodstock 58-49, who is 2-6. And on Tuesday, they'll have their only game this week as they play Rochelle Zell, who, as we mentioned, is 7-2. So, Coach, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, what do you know about this Rochelle Zell team, and what in particular are you guys focusing on in the last couple weeks?
Rochelle Zell, a lot of people play them. They're coached fantastically. Marty Dell is a great coach. He used to be the coach of Barrington. He's been all over. I've known him for a long time. So we're just prepping for that game. He always has his teams ready. They're well coached. So we know that it's going to be a battle going in there. We better be ready to play.
They lost. Did they lose to Ida Crown? Did they play Ida Crown?
Yeah, I believe they lost. It was a close one.
See, I know a little bit about the Jewish schools because back when I was at Northridge, we'd always play Ida Crown. We'd play Yeshiva, and we'd play. I don't think Rochelle was maybe a school or not, but you're right. They are very well coached, and they're actually somewhat competitive, especially Rochelle. Over the last couple of years, I think they've been pretty competitive, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, so the next team we'll look at in the Northern Lake County Conference is the Wakanda Bulldogs. Wakanda is coming off 2 impressive victories this week. Last Tuesday, Wakanda won at Elgin 71-43, and then Wakanda then won at Grayslake North 85-64. Their second win already over Grayslake North. In the win for Wakanda, Donovan Carter scored season-high 34 points. Benji Chung added 15 points, as well as Griffin Dawn, who contributed 14 points for the Bulldogs. Carter had 5 3-pointers as well as 6 rebounds, Wakanda will play Belvedere, who is 1-7 from the NIC 10 conference at Marengo High School this Saturday, which will be their only game of this week. So, Coach, I'm going to start with you. What do you take from this Wakanda team so far?
Without a doubt, Wakanda's playing awesome. They're a system program. Like, everyone in the entire system runs their stuff great. They run that ball press back into the 1-2-2. That sideline break, really, they play fast with that. Carter, without a doubt, is a big-time player. Going into every game, we like to notice with every team, they have a guy who's going to get his stuff, his points, he's going to play well. But who's the guy that we call an awareness player? That this guy can't go off for 16, 18 points, and that's who's ultimately going to beat you. Tough thing with Wakanda is that they've got 7, 8, 9 awareness guys. They're really deep. They know their stuff really well. So you can't really just focus on 2 or 3 guys, because as deep as they are and as well as they know their system, offensively and defensively, they're a tough team.
That makes me think. You guys are pretty deep too, right? You would say you probably got a couple awareness guys too. Can you maybe talk about those guys? As you said, that your star is Hakeem. Maybe you probably throw maybe Pierre in that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then, so who are your awareness guys? Let's hear the awareness guys.
Well, one newcomer this year that's really playing big is Deviante McNeil. He was Player of the Week or Player of the Area last week for the Daily Herald. He's given us 18 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 5 steals a game. So we've got those 3 that are really contributing a lot. But beyond that, you just have a bunch of guys that are really dedicated and know their roles. Jameer Jones, he's a defensive bulldog. Elijah Jones and Jeremiah Jordan, both about 6'4", really tough, love to run the floor. I hate singling out any of them, but everyone knows their role and they're really buying in, especially defensively. But then also Isaiah Nixon. He's our quarterback in football. He's averaging about 8 points a game. He's shooting roughly 40% from 3. So we had a lot of guys that we can really depend on.
For all our Round Lake area fans, you can catch them here on WRLR, not for a while, but February 7th when they hit the road at Grant. So we're joined by Coach Iden talking Northern Lake County hoops. And the next team we'll look at is the North Chicago Warhawks. North Chicago is currently 2-6. And the only game was this Saturday at home versus Antioch, where North Chicago won 53-50. North Chicago hosts Lake Forest Academy tonight, who is 4-3. Then they'll play at Waukegan on Friday, who is winless. So, Coach, I'm going to start with you again. What have you learned so far from this North Chicago team?
I would say you never know what to expect with Coach Coleman. I've always looked up to him for a long time. He gets the most out of his players. They play hard regardless. I haven't seen them much, scouted them a little bit, but they are pretty big. And so that there's one thing that they have to do. They're going to defend, and they're going to push the ball, and they're going to play hard. So North Chicago, Hall of Fame coach, Coleman gets the most out of his players always. So,
So you're talking about just and I agree 100%. Coach Coleman's done a great job in building a tradition at North Chicago, but he's also got that culture of brand of basketball, which is, we're gonna pressure you, we're gonna push the ball, we're gonna play hard, and you're gonna be disciplined. And so my question to you, Coach, would be, in terms of your program, what's been the culture like? Because obviously Round Lake is a contender for the Lake Conference, and so what has been the change at Round Lake? Because it's obviously there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of positive change.
Yeah, it's an interesting segue. I've spoken with Coach Coleman a lot ever since I accepted the job. Types of players we have, very similar. And so I've tried to kind of create that same culture of basketball in our school. Beyond that, just wanted to really create a culture of family, that our guys know that we are there for them, not only on the court, but in the classroom, off the court, outside, that they can like rely on us. So definitely a culture of family. We also like to give them a great experience. I tell our kids that we coach it like as a D1 program. So we look at everything like nutrition, sleep patterns, recovery, everything that is all encompassing. We don't just coach them as basketball players. We realize that they're humans first. So, but also support. We're always there for them. We have a great staff at the high school, even in the district, all the way up to our superintendent, Dr. Mendoza. Huge basketball fan. His son is a heck of a player at Crystal Lake Central, so he loves basketball. And so we just have a great support network throughout the school and the district.
That's great, because the one thing I've noticed just being around the county for a while is Round Lake. I think they've been waiting for a winner. You know, I mean, the fans are getting a little restless, and I think this program is poised to be that team that can be, you know, something that the community can get out and coach. You know more than me. The community will come out, and I know they'll come out and support you guys if they haven't already. But it's a really good time to be a Panther right now, I think.
If I could, you know, very few people know this, but I actually started my coaching career in 2010, fresh out of college, and I was assistant coach there for 3 years. So I moved around a little bit. I was at Round Lake for 3 years, then I went to Lakes for 3 years, and then I came back. I actually took 2 years off. And when the job opened up, it was kind of like, been here for a while, I know what it takes. And I've kind of seen, especially those years away, I saw how bad the school and the community wanted it.
I definitely agree. Total culture swing, and best of luck to you guys. And next thing we'll look at is the Lakes Eagles. Lakes is 3-4. Last Tuesday, Lakes beat Vernon Hills 47-42. Jake Sanders, Braden Nava, and Matthew Whiteshirt all scored 10 points in the victory effort. On Saturday, Lakes defeated Grays Lake Central 36-30, a game in which Rusty Silver, WRLR, was at. Jake Sanders scored 8 points, going 6 for 6 at the free throw line. Daniel Rogers also contributed for the Eagles, scoring 6 points. Chance Andel also played a major role for the Eagles, contributing 7 points. Matthew Pollack added his fair share of 8 points for the Eagles, as well as Brandon Nava with 7 points. Matthew Whiteshirt with 6 points. And Lakes will play at Waukegan on Tuesday. And on Friday, Lakes will play at Bradford, Wisconsin. So, Coach, what do you take from this Lakes team?
Well, I can't say enough about Coach Snyder. You can't sleep on him without a doubt. He is going to have his team prepared. No matter how well they're doing, if they're struggling, he is coming into practice day in, day out, and his kids will be ready. You can never look past them. Big win on Saturday. I know that was really exciting for them, but you know, the school, they have a will to win. The kids know how to win. Historically with basketball and their football program, soccer, you name it. So he's got a great group of kids, and they're lucky to have him, because night in, night out, you can't sleep on Coach Snyder. He is going to have them ready to play.
Now they're missing their best player too, right? Is he back yet?
Triplet?
I
don't think he's back yet.
So keep that in mind, Carson. We've been mentioning this. I'm surprised that they've been able to pull off some of these wins, and this is without their best player. So imagine when they get their best player, this is a team that they can survive till he comes back, can probably maybe be dangerous. Because I mean, they're playing well, and they've shown that they can play with the top guys in the conference.
Definitely, they had a lot of conference wins last year. I noticed it was the non-conference that they kind of stumbled on. But the next team we'll look at in the Northern Lake County Conference is the Grays Lake Central Rams. Grays Lake Central is 2-6, coming off a week in which they split their games. They defeated Vernon Hills in overtime, 52-48. The Rams then lost at Lakes, as I mentioned, 36-30. In the loss, the Grays Lake Central leading scorers were Marion Coleman with 9 points and Grant Hardy with 8 points and 7 rebounds. Grays Lake Central's only game this week will be this Saturday at Jacobs, where they'll play Jacobs, who is 6-2 from the Fox Valley Conference. So, Coach, what have you learned from the Grays Lake Central Rams so far?
So far and through the years is one thing, they have the ultimate home court advantage. When you play at their place, the whole town comes out. I know there's a lot of excitement with the program. Brian Centella taking over. He played there. I believe he graduated in 2005. So the kids are really excited. The program is excited, and so they're clearly well coached. They lost some seniors from last year. They were pretty successful, but throughout the program, they know how to win. They have a winning culture. If you say record-wise, and I don't really believe in looking at the record and judging too much this early in the season, maybe they're coming into their own right now with a new head coach, but without a doubt, they're going to be well coached, and those kids come out hard in games and they play.
How's that? I've only seen highlights. How's Hardy, and how is? Are there any other players that maybe we'd have to keep an eye on? Because again, this is a 3A team, so this is me kind of just with my binoculars on, trying to get some insight.
Right. Well, Hardy, 6'8", you can't really miss him.
He's athletic too.
Yeah, he is. His numbers are really solid. He isn't just a traditional back to the basket guy. But the actions they run too, they get him involved in the mix with the guard play. And they've got really balanced guards throughout it. And they run a tough system to guard that hybrid swing. So it's tough. You can't just zone in on Hardy, the 6'8" guy. He's going to distribute the ball, and they've got solid guard play to complement him.
All right, let's try squeezing these last three teams. Antioch, they're 3-2. Lost their only game at Grays Lake North, 53-50. No games this week. What do you take from Antioch?
We played Antioch last week. New head coach, Tim Bowen, great head coach. So you know that they're being coached well. They're getting their system in. They are young. But they're going to compete. Bowen's going to get the most out of them. You don't get a veteran head coach like him who's had a bunch of head coaching jobs and without deriving some good results at the end of it.
Here's my question is, because again, this is another 3A team. What did you use to crack Antioch?
Defense.
What was it?
94 feet of defense, baby.
Just picked them up. They struck
94 feet.
Okay.
All over them.
Good to know.
All right, the next team we'll look at is the Grant Bulldogs, who are 1-7. They're coming off an 0-2 week. They lost at Round Lake 61-41. Then they lost to Richmond Burton 62-57. They'll play at Johnsburg, who is 2-3, and then they'll play against Peyton, who is 2-5 at Jacobs. So, Coach, what did you learn from this Grant team?
Coming off of last year, they had tons of seniors. They've got a couple of really tough guys. Ashley that guy is just a bully. Real strong.
Division I baseball player.
Yeah, he's just huge. He's like a linebacker.
Yeah.
But what you can always expect with Bosworth is that the kids are going to be really well coached. They're going to know their system. He's going to hold them accountable. Grant's always one of those teams that you're worried about playing because they're just really hard-nosed kids and they're tough.
Yeah, very similar to the things how I guess we've been describing Grant is and there's a lot. Dick and I used to always say there's a lot of athletes in that building, and Boz has done a good job of tapping into that.
I think we're out of time to squeeze in Grays Lake North, but I'll just mention some notes off them. They lost to Highland Park in overtime, and then they lost to Wakanda at home, 85-64.
They got a freshman.
Dominic Jankowski is a player to watch. He had 21 points, 5 3-pointers. And then Tony Hines with 18 points, Jamone Thomas with 10 points. And their only game will be on Tuesday as they host Wilmot from Wisconsin. Coach, we appreciate you coming on to the show as always. And then Coach Garcia as well, taking your time. And so long from Round Lake Beach Metro Station. We also thank Kyle Wilhelm for coming on to the show. We hope to have you tune in next week to Lake County Sports Scoop, Mondays at 4.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
She come to bring me love. Oh, sweet little thing. She rock and roll. She dance and sing. She hold me tight. She touch me lips. Me eyes they close. Me heart she flip. Havana moon. Havana moon. But still alone. Me drinking the rum. Begin to think they both no come. American girl, she tell a lie. She say till then, she mean goodbye. Havana moon, Havana moon. Me lay down alone, was good to rum. Me fall asleep, the boat she come. The girl she look till come the dawn. She weep and cry, return for home. The whistle blow, me